What's kicking, everybody? We are back for another episode of Pickin Fights. I'm Keith, joined as always by Tom. Man, it feels good to say that. How are you, Tom?
I'm doing well. Got some of the Christmas gifts on display. Got the headphones. Had a microphone previously. Had to opt out of it. Still learning. Getting the. Oh my god! I first show back. Can't even talk. Still getting the ropes. Still figuring some things out. Still getting my language back. Brand new coffee mug. Saturday morning. Sunday morning, should I say? We got fights this weekend. Next weekend. This upcoming weekend, and that feels great to say. It feels like it's been forever since we've been able to say that, since we've had a UFC card. And a lot has gone on in the UFC, Keith, since we last spoke, since we were last on a show.
Yeah, definitely. Dana White slapped his wife around a few times, and some fights were made. So, well, what's something you're most looking forward to from the UFC or like UFC related in 2023?
Well, I mean, there's not one single thing that I'm, I guess, most looking forward to. I mean, we could potentially talk about John Jones. Is 2023 the year that John Jones finally comes to heavyweight? He's been teasing it since 2013. Was his initial heavyweight debut targeted date. So just a little bit off there. Really interested to see what's going to go on with Dana White. Power Slap looks like it's about to be dead. Um, TBS is going to have a real difficult time navigating marketing Power Slap. It
Well,
probably can't be. It can't be Dana White's Power Slap anymore, right? Unless it's like some sort of like 4D chess that he's trying to play to bring awareness and attention to the slapping community.
Power Slap is alive and well in the Dana White household right now.
In the household, apparently, full on MMA is fair game in the Dana White household, because there's no
Yeah.
way that she's that aggressive with him and his first reaction is to just give her. Now, again, it wasn't like a hard slap, but still, you can't hit women, especially not
No,
in public. I'm
no.
not saying that you can ever hit a woman, but I'm saying definitely not in public when you're Dana White and you're the president of a billion-dollar company. That's absolutely a situation where you can't do that. But still, he gave her, it was almost like a downward thing. Like, it was very, very open hand, almost was complete fingers. But regardless, yeah, definitely. I'm interested to see, because obviously the UFC and the deal with ESPN that's going on, at least for right now. ESPN owned by Disney. ESPN has kicked people out for doing just a little bit of recreational cocaine on the side with no violence associated with it. Dana White probably has skirted getting outed by Disney for the cocaine fun, but I don't know if he'll be able to skirt the violence here, the domestic dispute. I don't think he'll be able to get past. You know what? He might be able to get past it. There's not a lot of heat coming down on him. Stephen A. Smith was really light on him in terms of
Well, they're
talking
buds.
about it. Everybody is. Everyone at ESPN
Yeah.
and the way it's being covered. You know, have you seen
Yeah.
that show with Jennifer Aniston called The Morning Show on Apple TV?
No, but I'm aware of what it's about. Is that Steve Carell in it too?
Steve Carell's in it. Yeah, it's
Okay.
basically like House of Cards, but for like TV,
News,
morning
yeah, right.
TV, where
Yeah.
everybody's like out for their own interests and they're playing this and they're doing that and they're making moves. It just makes you realize that, like, oh, that stuff's actually happening. Disney and ESPN realizes that Dana White unceremoniously leaving, would definitely be bad for the brand, and it would have an issue on the money that the UFC makes, the product that they're going to put out there. So they can't have him, kicked out. So they got in front of it. I think TMZ is related to Disney in some way, so they got in front of it.
Right.
You could tell by the way TMZ covered it, and the fact that there was already quotes by Dana White and his wife in the TMZ article, that they had been prepared and had been, sitting on it. So Dana White is getting the red carpet treatment from Disney and ESPN. You could tell.
Oh yeah,
What's
yeah,
up, Cam?
definitely.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, what up? It definitely makes you wonder who the next UFC president's going to be, because like he's already mentioned retiring at some point, and controversy only makes you want to get out of the public eye even sooner. So we'll see what happens with Dana now. But you mentioned John Jones making his heavyweight debut. I'm looking forward to that. After these past holidays, I'm kind of making my own heavyweight debut myself right now. So, I'm trying to get back into that New Year's grind of getting in the gym, because, man, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's even, those are some hard-hitting holidays. One thing I'm really looking forward to from 2023, UFC related, is the acting debut of Conor McGregor in Roadhouse. I think that's going to be a pretty good movie. I saw some screenshots of that today, or like set photos.
Oh, him coming out of the water?
Yeah, yeah. It actually looks like it's going to be like a dope action movie. I'm kind of hyped for that. So we'll see what happens with that one. I'm looking forward to it. What do you think?
If anyone could play a role, it's Conor McGregor. You know what I mean? He's been playing a
Right.
variety of different characters and roles for the last 5 or 6 years. Let me go ahead and fix this logo in the top corner here. But yeah, if anyone could play a role and be a crazy person on camera, Conor McGregor's the first person I'm going to look at for that. So that's going to be interesting. Outside of the cage, inside of the cage, a lot of people are paying attention to. Alexander Volkanovski taking on Islam Makhachev. That'll
Yeah.
be especially interesting now that Khabib is saying that he's going to retire from MMA entirely. I didn't look too far into it. It happened fairly recently, but I'm not sure if he gave a date. Is he going to be in the corner for Islam there? And you got another cousin, Umar Nurmagomedov, fighting this weekend. Does that affect him at
Right.
all?
Yeah, I have no idea, but that's crazy after Habib. Some media outlets gave Habib MMA Coach of the Year, and then you look at Eagle FC too. That was his promotion, and that just kind of folded out of nowhere after like Kevin Lee and Diego Sanchez were supposed to be the heralds of that.
Oh, I didn't
Um,
even realize it folded.
yeah, I don't know if it's like official that it folded, but I don't. They haven't had an event in a while. They haven't announced
Oh,
any new events coming up. So, and he
just
hasn't
another
spoken about it at
failed
all.
Kevin Lee venture.
Yeah, pretty much. Well,
Kevin Lee, the king of 165 pounds, cannot catch a break.
yeah, he's had a tough go at it. The opportunities are there, but nobody ever seems to back him up. But yeah, I think that completely folded. So maybe that was a little bit like what pushed Habib in that direction too. It's like maybe I should just step away from this game entirely. But I don't know why he would step away from coaching, considering his fighters basically went unbeaten in 2022, and AKA is on a hell of a run right now.
Well, I mean, the thing is I think it's less than it's less about sports notoriety for him and for people of that region. I think I saw a quote, and I don't know if it's real or not. These days it's really hard to sort through all that stuff, but I saw a quote by him, which I think roughly translated to the point of like, oh, like when you are, even if you're a billionaire, you still only get one slice of bread, meaning like no matter what you have amassed, you still do, I guess, as if you were younger, or you don't eat more than your fill, in another way to say it. So I think he's saying like, listen, I got my wins doing it. I've got my wins coaching. I have my money. Like continuing to stay in this would just be a form of gluttony, which I know in the Russian Muslim world more generally is frowned upon. So, I mean, that could be the perspective. Like I said, didn't look into it too much. It could be, maybe his mom doesn't want him around the game at all. That, obviously that's a big, it's a big influence for him. So I'm not exactly sure.
Well, since he retired, he's taken on a little bit of a life of gluttony. Clearly, I mean, he's packed on the pounds like anybody else would.
Yeah,
But
but how long has he been fighting off? If that's
oh,
his
yeah.
natural body state, maybe. How
Oh,
long has he been fighting that off to keep a
I'm
210,
totally,
215 frame at
I'm
150?
totally joking. Yeah, I totally support if you have a career where you have to cut weight, every 3, 4, 6 months.
Can't imagine.
Um, Even if it's once a year, you have to keep that body like small and pure muscle. So I totally support him if any fighter wants to leave the sport. You don't have to be GSP. If you follow GSP on Instagram, he's still in spectacular shape,
He
and
could fight yesterday
yeah, or tomorrow, and he does
or
crazy
today.
workouts all the time. Yeah, it's nuts. So you don't have to be GSP. I was just joking around about Habib, but why don't we dive into this car? Oh wait, what's
Well,
that?
real
Who's your guys'
quick,
top
I
prospect? Yo, that's a great one, Jack Della Maddalena. I like that.
definitely a good pick there. For me, I'm looking at Renato Moicano, especially now that you have Demir Ismagulov, who
Uh,
retired kind of out of nowhere, and that lightweight rankings set to be shaken up. You have Islam, well, maybe not, but you have Islam Makhachev coming in a little bit later this year to fight Alexander Volkanovski. I don't think that Volk is maybe going to get that one done per se, but lightweight has always been one of the most intriguing divisions. And when you have guys like Arman Sarukian calling to get guys like Justin Gaethje out of the top of the rankings for refusing to fight anyone who's not the top 3 or 4. Charles Oliveira potentially in talks to take on Beneil Dariush. Michael Chandler's always willing to fight somebody. Potentially that could be a Conor McGregor matchup in the summertime. Rafael Fiziev is in there. A lot of people are mad at him just for not being as crazy as maybe he should live up to. But yeah, Mateusz Gamrot, RDA just moved up to 170, so he's going to come out of the rankings. You have Jalen Turner up there, who's just a fucking reach god when it comes to the 155-pound division. So there's a lot of interesting things that are going to go on at 155, and I think if you are Renato Moicano, with your experience, your jiu-jitsu, and where you're finding yourself at this point in your career, you could be looking at, a Charles Oliveira type trajectory. So I'm really excited about him.
Yeah.
I mean, Grant Dawson is a fun fighter. I'm just looking at the rankings here, but again, that Arman Sarukian, we were talking about Damir Ismagulov. There's always Guram Kutulidze, who unfortunately, I think Guram just actually had to have a staph infection removed from his elbow, which is unfortunate. But at 155, instead, I'm sorry that you asked for my top fighters, and I'm just saying like those unknown kind of round robin folk that we were always talking about. Sarukian, no more Damir, but Guram Kutulidze, those type guys. I'm really excited for them.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Ilia Topuria in 2020.
That's another one.
Yeah, I think he's the guy. I mean, just after what he did to Bryce Mitchell, I think he's the guy that I'm really – I don't know if he's cracked the rankings yet. I can't remember, but he's the guy.
Yeah, he's at 9.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yeah. I mean, after that Bryce Mitchell fight, though, that's the guy I'm really looking forward to seeing just break through even more so and become – because what the skills and the power that he possesses, I really think he could be a household name. And it's such a unique name, too, Ilia Topuria. It flows. I think if you get the pundits on ESPN saying Ilia Topuria over and over again, he's got a great personality that really helps him build fights too. He's in a lot of the drama and the beef with the big names. So I think with all those factors combined, you might actually see him lined up for some pretty big fights this year. And I'm looking forward to that.
That's a real good one. That's a real good one, especially considering he's sitting at 9. You have Giga Chikadze, who I think Ilia Topuria can kickbox with. Maybe not quite as fast, but definitely strong in the hands. And I think would have a good time if he took down Giga Chikadze. I think he's strong, but Giga's hard to take down. Not everyone's going to make it as easy as it looked in his last fight. But Calvin Kattar is still up there, who's great. Chan Sung Jung, who talked about potentially hanging it up. Josh Emmett fighting for the interim belt here. Arnold Allen, can't forget about him. Brian Ortega still in the mix. Yair still in the mix. Max Holloway, who knows what he's going to do. 55, and you have the champ Volk. And it's question mark in terms of what's happening at the top of that division too. So featherweight is primed for looking good, and also bantamweight just the same with Aljo up there at the top. Sean O'Malley, I think, is going to take on the winner of Marlon Vera. Who's Marlon Vera fighting? He's taking on Sanhagen, right?
Corey, yeah.
Yeah, that's another fantastic fight. So the UFC front part of the year is already looking pretty strong, and I can't wait to see what they're going to do in 2023. A lot of good fights to look forward to there, Cam.
Yeah, I got one more guy that I also don't believe has cracked the rankings yet, and it's a guy I've spoken about a lot on here before. He took a bad loss to Mark Zhukazi in his last fight. But that is Vyacheslav Borshev, Slava Claus. Really looking
always
forward.
Always got to talk about Slava Claus.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he does in 2023. He's an incredible kickboxer. Opened his UFC career debuting with liver shot knockout or TKO of, I believe, Cody Stamen maybe. But that was incredible. Like, what a way to start your career in the UFC. I just look forward to seeing what he does because he's got crazy hands and super accurate, super powerful. So looking forward to seeing what Slava Claus does this year. All right, so let's dive into this card. Before we do that, just want to ask everybody, if you want to interact with us, like you just saw, like we just spent however many minutes on a question in the comments. Please comment down below. Talk with us in the chat. We love to, have conversations with you guys. Definitely like the video if you enjoy this or our picks help you. Please like it. And if you enjoy our content and you want to support us, please subscribe. It really helps us out over here. Also, follow us on Twitter and Instagram @_Pickin Winners. That's like the main page that our whole team is on. We've got the football guys. Get their picks for today. They're on our YouTube as well as our Twitter. And check out our Spotify if you can't listen to, or if you can't watch a full YouTube video or be with us here live. Listen to us on Spotify. Whether it be on your run in the park or when you're driving to work, one of those things. Also follow us on our personal Twitters as well. So mine is right under me. Tom's under him. I'm Pickin Keith, and Tom is at Pickin Fights Tom. All right. With all that being said, let's dive into our prelim notables, as we always do. And I've just got one this week. It's a guy that I've picked in the past as a prelim notable, and that is Alan Nascimento. And I'm a big fan of his. I'm a big fan of everybody over at Shoot to Box. I know there's a couple of guys from Shoot to Box on this card, but Alan Nascimento is a guy that's won me some money in the past. Super fast hands. He's got that. We're starting to see Shoot the Box develop their own style of Muay Thai, so to speak, right now. And they all have incredible jiu-jitsu coming out of that gym. So he's a very well-rounded fighter. And pretty heavy odds right now. A little bit all over the place on some books. Like you're seeing some in like the minus 300s. You're seeing some at 4, 5. So, I just, like I said before, follow me on Twitter because there's going to be some prop I'm feeling later on in the week. Right now, kind of feeling the TKO win, but we'll see how it goes. I'll keep you updated on where I stand, but that's my prelim notable. I think that's a really good fight to watch because Shoot the Box is producing some really good prospects right now. What do you think, Tom, and who do you got for your prelim notables?
Yeah, Alan Nascimento, I like him against Carlos Hernandez. We were talking about it a little bit earlier that there's a couple Shoot the Box fighters that I am a little bit concerned about on this card. Mainly, let me pull it right up here. But I like that Alan Nascimento pick. I think he's going to get it done over Carlos Hernandez. But speaking of Shoot the Box, you also have Shoot the Box fighter Mateusz Mendonca that's taking on Javid Basharat. And that one that I would feel a little bit more concerned about if you're the Shoot the Box fighter. Let me get this off the screen. I've been trying to get back into the swing of the things of editing and talking and all of that stuff. So bear with me.
Sorry.
Appreciate it.
Killing it, Tom.
No, appreciate it, guys. Yeah, Javid Basharat. You may remember Javid Basharat as the guy who he was talked about as like on his Dana White Contender Series fight. Everyone was like, oh, like cheer for Javid Basharat, I guess, was the sentiment because the guy he was fighting had called him a terrorist in the face-off.
Right.
And then he went out there and just annihilated him over 3 rounds. And then following that, Trevin Jones, he got the win over Tony Gravely following that just 2 months ago. So Javid Basharat has fought a lot of really good competition. He has a jiu-jitsu style, he's got strong jiu-jitsu, but the way that he approaches is a very he throws a lot of feints, so it's really hard to know when he's coming. The Snow Leopard is his nickname. He's still young at 27 years old, and he is a 69-inch reach. He's looked really good, and he's fought UFC caliber competition, and he's looked good in them. The only thing that I would say is that he hasn't shown the ability to get out there and get finishes. Tony Gravely, Trevin Jones are not two guys that have been known for like their chins or their absolute durability. So going out there and not getting the finishes is not necessarily a knock on Javid Basharat, but it's not the plus that you'd be looking for. And going against a guy Mateusz Mendonca from Shoot the Box, he's 10-0. He's got a really stiff knockout over Ashik Ajim, who's not a great prospect in and of himself, but Mateusz fights like a typical guy out of Shoot the Box. So looking at the lines here, have him at plus 280 to a Javid Basharat minus 350. And a guy making his UFC debut, typically, I wouldn't be as afraid. But being that he's from Shoot the Box, he's training with guys like Charles Oliveira. He's got that similar style. He's got ability to knock people out. And I don't know if he's going to be as able to be susceptible to the feints of Javid Basharat because of the level of competition that he's fighting on a daily basis over at Shoot the Box. So I don't know why I'm talking about this for so long because I don't want to pick Mateusz. I would still kind of lean Javid Basharat just because of his experience inside of the UFC that can't be understated. But I guess more or less a cautionary tale about 2 undefeated fighters, 2 up-and-coming prospects that the UFC probably should be high on and you don't typically see getting matched up for a debut. So I would caution everybody, if you were thinking about taking that fight, I would caution you that, hey, maybe slight pause on that. But you brought up shoot the box, so I wanted to comment on it. It was something I've been thinking about all week when I was looking this up. I want to lean Javid Basharat, but I would definitely stay away from it if I'm betting on it. I like Alan Nascimento, your pick, though. I would definitely throw some money on that. And while we're talking about it, I don't want to ramble on too long. Is there anything that you want to comment about what those two fights? I know you said your piece on the first one.
No, I'm 100% with you on the second fight. I mean, not everybody that comes out of shoot the box is a lock this week. And, yeah, I'm 100% with you. And so carry on if you have any more, because Alan Nascimento is my only one this week.
All right. So my other one is I like Dan Argueta this week. Dan is a guy who hit the wrong button. Dan is a guy who last time we saw him, he was going against Damon Jackson. He took that fight on short notice, actually up a weight class at 100 and 145 pounds. Typically, he had fought at 135 pounds, but came in here on short notice against Damon Jackson, a guy who's going to be at the top of this card and talk about very shortly, a guy who's known for his grappling ability in jiu-jitsu. That's what Dan Argueta specializes in himself. You remember from the Contender Series, he lost on the first round in, but I like Dan Argueta a lot. I think he's going to have the ability to get it done against the UFC newcomer, Isaac Dulgarian, Midwest Choppa. He's 26 years old, so he's young, relatively inexperienced in his own right, fighting at a Glory MMA, so he does have that going for him. But when you just look at the type of people he's fought, first of all, he's only 5-0. But when you look at the level of people that he's fought, he's got a 1-1 win, 2-3 win, 0-0, 2-2. And these are the level of opponent that he's finishing, people who are new to the sport themselves. Once you get to people, even TJ Britton, 7-2, that's a largely fluffed up record. So you're going to be going from a guy on the outside. I think FNC or FAC, I think that I remember doing my research somewhere, seeing that this is it's Glory MMA, so of course he's going to be have close ties to and I'm blanking on the name right now, but he just got kicked out of the UFC, kicked out of kind of MMA more generally. Who am I talking about for betting on fighters? James Krause. Why the fact that I couldn't get that name was absolutely embarrassing, but James Krause fires, so he's going to be displaced here, kind of looking for a new gym, or no matter what is actually happened, this is not what you want when you're in a fight camp here, trying to make your UFC debut with already having a background of maybe some sketchy competition. I like Dan Argueta a lot in this fight, and he's one of the ones that I would feel pretty confident laying some money on. Of course, hopefully I didn't jinx it for us, proclaiming my confidence in that pick. But I do like Dan Argueta. I like him just for his own ability, but yeah, I like the matchup for him too. Isaac Dulgarian's a guy who's going to be a jiu-jitsu guy, and he has all right standing ability, but if you're able to go in there and contend with guys like Damon Jackson, shouldn't be too big of a problem for you, especially against a fighter who's just been displaced. So there's that, and then there's one more fight. Sorry to ramble on anybody. If it's too much, just fast forward. I don't know if anyone's like me, but I like to listen to podcasts at like 2 times speed. That might be hard with how fast I talk, but to each their own. There's another one that I wanted to look at, Jimmy Flick against Charles Johnson. I would be really interested in Jimmy Flick. He's the guy who he's known for his UFC debut, pulled a flying knee and actually, or not a flying knee, pulled a flying triangle. And he got it while in the air and secured it on the ground, got the win over Cody Durden. That's right. Cody Durden's a guy who's not shown to be impervious to, quick endings of fights himself, even when he's winning. But still a good win against a good opponent in your UFC debut. And then he went and he retired. He just he said, I made it to the UFC and I made $100,000 that year. I guess it wasn't fighting, but he made $100,000 that year and he made it to the UFC. So he decided to call it quits. And then, like we saw, that was under 2 years ago. He said a couple months ago, he went to his daughters and he said, hey, what do you think about daddy fighting again? And they said, yeah. So he started training. So I like Jimmy Flick. I like his ability. He's a fighter who will get beaten up and then somehow find a way to pull it out. Not impervious, like I said, 16-5 record. He's got some wins got some losses at lower level of competition, but always been a guy who's been fun to watch. And he's gotten it done, 10-1 in the LFA, 6-0 submission, arm triangle choke in his Contender Series debut. So this is a guy who's going to go out there and he's going to try and submit you. But Charles Energy is a guy who, against Zaglas Zumagulov, he got out of there with a win that he probably didn't deserve. Zaglas probably got that win, but he went in there and he competed with the likes of Zagos Magulov, and this was only 2.5 weeks ago. It didn't take a ton of damage. Both guys threw a lot, but not a ton of shots that did a ton of damage. You're going to be concerned about 3 weeks later coming into a fight. Charles Johnson, I think, is just a little bit more prepared on this time. For this bout here. Tiger Muay Thai is his primary gym, has about the same reach. He's going to be a little bit of the bigger guy at 5'9" against Jimmy Flick, who's 5'7". And I think the biggest deciding point here for Charles Johnson is the fact that he's been training and Jimmy Flick hasn't. I know it says minus 400, which isn't a great price tag. I don't think Jimmy Flick's going to go out there and finish Charles Johnson and vice versa. So I think taking the over on this one, Charles Johnson by decision or points, I think would definitely behoove you and probably lead to a win there. So with that being said, those were my prelim locks. Let me just scan this one more time. We talked about Charles Johnson and Jimmy Flick. Priscilla Cachoeira, I think, is going to get the decision win over Sijara Eubanks. Dan Argueta over Isaac Dolgarian. We talked about Alan Nascimento. Matush Rabicki is taking on UFC newcomer Nick Fiore, 6-0, but Fiore has some sketchy competition, some really sketchy competition, so I would take a look at that one. And then you got Claudio Ribeiro, who just wings punches and has almost no MMA striking defense whatsoever against Abdul Razak Al Hassan, who has put people away in the past but hasn't lately, and has a little bit of UFC acumen to his cred, but that's one I would stay away from as well. So those are my prelim notables.
Yeah, I like the Charles Johnson pick a lot, and boosting it up by going for decision. I like that. I like that quite a bit. So I'm going to tell you there, even though I am a fan of Flick, it's unfortunate though. He did step away for quite a while, but we'll see. He does have the ability to surprise people. But I'm going to back you with the Johnson pick. All right, so we're going to start.
Took me on a bit of a roller coaster there.
Yeah, true.